Matt Huska. I work at RJN Group. We're a sewer system study and design firm, and we collect all kinds of information having to do with sewer flows, why backups and overflows happen, and we collect data about a lot of different types of stuff like manholes, buildings and residential areas. My role here is a software developer. I actually started out as a civil engineer, so I started out as my own user, and eventually the rest of the company started using my software. So now I'm a full-time software developer. The end goal of the project was to replace a previous project or product that we were using. It's on SQL Server. It's also integrated with GIS, so we already have a couple things going on there. It wasn't a fresh system we were building. We saw iForm. It was a bit more of a challenge because it was different, but it was different. So it was definitely a departure from the way we were doing things. And one of the things that attracted us right away was just how easy it was to build the forms. So we had to integrate this new form building platform with this system that was already integrated with other stuff. To integrate with an existing system, existing database, you definitely need to know how to work with data. You need to know how to work with XML, and you need to be very well organized and have a real good plan for how you're going to deal with schema changes, form changes, when the server's turned off, when something doesn't come in quite right. For that application, it was a challenge, but it was definitely doable, and honestly for me it was an exciting challenge because I had never done anything quite like that. From a developer perspective, for one thing, it's so easy to create the forms. That's nice because it's not all on you to necessarily build the layout and the look and feel of it. And if it is on you, then it's not that hard. The other nice thing is, with it being easy, it's also very flexible, which is usually not two things that go together well. So there's a lot of depth to it. You can pretty much do anything with the JavaScript to make it sing, make it do what you want. It has a lot of different field types, so you're not just limited to the text and the numerics and all that. You can bring in pictures, scan stuff, barcode scanners. Just really, it makes you look good as a developer doing these forms, that you can just send them out with one device rather than a device, a camera, a GPS thing, a barcode scanner. You can send them out with one device and get your needs met with just that. So the biggest hurdle I had when we were first getting this product, we were told to have this nice API that'll bring us back the data, which sounded great to me because as long as I can get it in XML format, I can do whatever I want with it programmatically. Before you can get the data through the API, you have to authenticate, which, to be fair, is not something I've worked with too much. Also, I was working in VB.NET, desktop program, so it has the capabilities to do all that stuff, but it's not exactly like the first thing you would use that for, as opposed to like PHP or something like that. So that was actually quite a hurdle, and when I looked, when we were talking about it at the beginning, I thought that would be probably pretty simple and everybody must be using this, and I saw they had a page on it explaining how to do it, so I followed that thing to the T, and and nothing. I got nowhere. And I had told my team that I could, if with no distractions, whatever, I could probably get this done in 4 to 6 weeks. I was at about a week and a half just at the authentication. So finally I got together with some of the iForm staff and their developer that deals with the API and the authentication. Kind of, we walked through the code together and kept trying it, and probably took us an hour or two. And I probably actually had it 90% there even, but took us a while to really pinpoint the spots that needed to change. And we finally got it, but I have to admit it wasn't something that I would have come up with myself without the help. So that is posted online now. So at least VB.net version of the authentication is there. So that is a hurdle, and I would recommend, if you're beating your head against the wall, to ask the iForm staff to look at it with you, maybe.
I know you've done a lot of cool
stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. I mean, it's not really anything that I did, but just the fact that you can take pictures within the form itself, like that, pretty much transformed like the whole section of our QC efforts. What we used to have to do is we'd write down the photo number, take the picture, and then later on I had a little drag and drop function that would try to marry the two up. But invariably the field crews would just try to remember the number they were on and write it in so they didn't have to look at the camera. Every single picture, every single record had to be QC'd. You don't always know one manhole from another just by the manhole name. So
True.
The fact that that picture sits in the form just in itself was such a huge, was a really cool thing for us. Some of the cool things I guess we did with it, one thing we did that sounds like we were one of the first ones to do it was wrote a little JavaScript function that calls the Google API and basically gets all the geographic information for the GPS point that they took. So we can pre-populate address numbers and streets and really anything, zip code, city, all the stuff that comes with the Google Geographical API.
That's one of my favorite things that you've done too. So it's really cool.
Top 3 skills. Definitely good working knowledge of JavaScript. You got to be very organized, but I think that's just for anything a developer does. Top 3. That's 2. I guess just being very creative and very empathetic to the user. If not a first-hand knowledge, a good knowledge of what the user is doing and what order they do things in. An example is a lot of our forms are quite large and there's a lot of questions, and just knowing that when a guy pulls up to the site and they pull the cover, it's easier for them to take the picture first and get some of the topside information than it is to start getting measurements down at the bottom or something like that. How you lay out your forms can really improve or make harder the process for the end user. So just having a good understanding of that, I think, is important. The iFormBuilder team has been great. Actually, that was one huge improvement over previous products we worked with, is just the customer service is the best I've ever seen. I mean, you got the Kickstart program, which is great. They actually spend time with you trying to get you up and going. But then after that, obviously, you're still going to have questions and hurdles and stuff like that. They have the online chat service, which has answered most of my questions. And they have a great help menu and an online ticket system. They just have so many different ways to get a hold of them and just get a quick answer, which has been great. So.